Welcome to History of Astronomy with Yana Shavers, Katie Schauer, and Jake Nordby. The Mesopotamians built a foundation for current astronomy by building an observatory called the ziggurats, which represented the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. They discovered that stars change with the seasons, and they distinguished between fixed stars and planets. The idea of dividing the circle into 360 degrees came from them as well.
The Egyptians developed a calendar for predicting the Nile flood and aligning the temples and monuments. They also designed the Great Pyramid, which aligned with the cardinal points, and the Temple of Amun-Ra, which aligned with the rising or setting of the sun.
The early efforts of Stonehenge led to H. Brumer's 1864 theory that the monument was built in 977 BC, and it aligned in direction of the summer solstice and the sunset of the winter solstice.
The Chinese were able to accurately tell how long a year was. They were also able to do many other things, such as observe meteor showers and comets, with the added benefit of knowing when a solar eclipse would happen, by studying solar phases and precessions.
Thales was the first person to use the Little Dipper as a navigation aid, and he even measured the height of the pyramid using a shadow. He also predicted solar eclipses in 585 BC and figured out the distance of a ship to the shore.
Pythagoras developed the model for the solar system and also adopted the notion of a spherical Earth and noted that the Earth moved in a central fire for 24 hours. He also believed that the planets produced sounds. Oh, and he made the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
The Babylonians were able to use math to determine planetary orbits. The Babylonians also managed to determine solar eclipses using math. They produced almanacs that predicted celestial events and positions and showed positions of the planets. Overall, they were quite an interesting race.
Aristotle argued that all celestial motions must be circular, and gave proofs that showed Earth is a sphere. He also believed other bodies in the universe were spheres, and used the idea that the world had 4 elements: fire, earth, water, and air.
Aristarchus used geometry and showed it was possible to find the moon's distance using a triangle. He showed that the universe is larger than the Earth and proposed that the sun is the center of the universe instead of the Earth. He calculated the sun's diameter and that it's 7 times as large as Earth is.
Eratosthenes used geometry to calculate the size of Earth and used the relationship between latitude and altitude of the sun as difference in latitude between Seni and Alexandria. Therefore, the circumference of Earth is 50 times larger than the distance between Seni and Alexandria.
Hipparchus was a man who discovered the distance between the Earth and the Moon to be 59 radius length. With this information, he determined that it's a couple 100,000 miles from the sun. Also, with this knowledge, he developed theories of how the sun, moon, and Earth work together. He also discovered a new star in 34 BC.
The Mayans and Mesoamericans made monuments and buildings that aligned to position the sunrise and sunset at equinoxes and solstices. Battles were aimed to coincide with Venus, Mayans aligned the buildings and built lines of sight pointing towards northernmost south rising of Venus. Also, they had a calendar that predicted 2,000 years forward, 2012.
Ptolemy completed the solar system and proposed that the path of a planet is a combination of motions on two circular paths. The system wasn't geocentric and did not involve uniform circular motion.
The Arabs, or Muslims, created names for stars such as Beltagis and Altar. They also perfected a navigation tool called the astrosectant, and Muslims had studied the sky for fine keeping. The Quran also helped them to find astronomical patterns.
Copernicus proposed the first fully developed heliocentric model of the solar system and came up with Gresham's law that bad money drives out good. The outline of the sun-centered theory of the solar system was also made by him, and he published the heliocentric theory.
Gray had opposed the heliocentric model. He was the first scientist to understand the value of multiple observations. He concluded that the Earth was stationary, and the model compromise between Ptolemy and Copernicus was the sun and the moon orbited the Earth, and yeah, okay. Galileo Figaro. Galileo constructed the first known completed astronomical telescope. He discovered the moon that had an uneven surface, and he discovered the Milky Way, which was made up of numerous separate stars. He also discovered 4 largest satellites of Jupiter, whatever that means. Kepler discovered 3 major laws of planetary motion, one of which was the harmony law. One of his laws said that planets move in elliptical orbits with the sun, and another said that there needed to be time for planetary orbit because of the proportions. Newton. He invented calculus, formulated the law of gravitation, aka Newton's law, and discovered laws of motion. He discovered that sunlight is made of light of different colors, and he developed a reflecting telescope. In 1666, he created the law of gravitation. Also, he has the deepest crater on the moon named after him. Edmund Halley was the first to calculate the orbit of a comet in 1684. He also developed the theory of gravitation further and reasoned that force was keeping the planet in orbit. He also found the distance from the sun in 1686 and made a map of the world with the first meteorological chart published. Einstein was the genius who created the theory of relativity in 1905, which said that mass and energy determine the geometry of space-time and how space-time manifests in themselves in gravitational forces. This also explained Newtonian mechanics close to the speed of light in 1915. Niels Bohr said that electrons can be found in energy orbits of certain size. He also created the model of the atom in 1913, which included the protons, neutrons, and electrons. He examined the property of surface tension, studied structure of atoms' nuclei, and made the quantum theory. Nice. Wolfgang Pauli created the quantum theory of ionized molecular hydrogen in 1925. He also created a new way of explaining behavior of electrons in atoms. The Pauli exclusion principle said that no 2 electrons in an atom can have the same quantum numbers. He proposed the existence of subatomic particles as well. Werner Heisenberg developed new theories in quantum mechanics and behavior of electrons. He also came up with the uncertainty principle, which explains the impossibility of knowing exactly where something is and how fast it is moving. He wrote plans for the first nuclear reactor in Germany as well. Edwin Hubble was responsible for the Hubble Space Telescope. In 1920, he showed that some of the numerous, distant, faint clouds of light in the universe were actually galaxies. In 1929, he determined that the farther a galaxy is from Earth, the farther it appears to move away. Georges Lemaitre was a Belgian priest, astronomer, and professor of physics at a Catholic university. In 1931, he came up with the idea of the Big Bang Theory, which was an explosion of a single particle, which is still expanding in the universe. Robert Oppenheimer was an American theoretical physicist and professor. In 1926, when he was 22 years old, he added information to the quantum theory. He was also credited with finding the School of Theoretical Physics, and in 1930 he discovered black holes. Fred Hoyle was the defender of the steady-state theory of the universe, and the steady-state theory said that the expansion of the universe and creation of matter were interdependent. He also formulated theories about the origins of stars and elements within the stars.
Penzias and Wilson discovered cosmic microwave radiation that amplified and measured radio signals from spaces between galaxies and radio signals from the Milky Way. They also accomplished the launch of Telstar, which included a telescope, in 1962.
Armstrong and Aldrin were the first men to land on the moon. They did this June 20th, 1969, and they completed Kennedy's dream to put two men safely on the moon and ended the space race.
Oh, thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah.